Thanks for choosing us. Well, this afternoon, the Ghana Meteorological Agency is warning of more rains with forecasts of heavy downpours accompanied by thunderstorms. This comes just hours after last night's rainfall triggered flooding, fire outbreaks and building collapses in parts of Accra, the Greater Accra region. We'll be digging deeper into flooding and why exactly remains a recurring challenge in Ghana, even 11 years after the June 3rd disaster that claimed at least 154 lives. Well, we'll bring you a wrap of what happened yesterday. Here on Joy News, we brought you live coverage of twin happenings in the capital. First at Adenta, where there was a collapse of a building, and then at Tudu, where fire ravaged parts of that market. We have a wrap in this report.
So, we don't talk about Niama. Said, Madam, to me more bopoma me yemushimi. Because Niama ne bigu anima container minu. And if you had a metimi Niama or dem, Niama na meto hanoso bebre. They also has a crowd of singing. Inteno Niama seno mekase meka. Niamashi. Ijina we. Me hu Niama ekita me eni. No na ekita me na me dijina we.
Eto antare ne eduku no munyina wa scarf. Eto eduku. Mr. Meton duku me se duku dwa bebre. Ense nyina no enra na dwe wa ha na eja ni to we ni se tie yi bebre ash. Ya pon si ene ya pon ebi kwantam si enya ne enkoye no ne ya wa ha. Ti de hu ya ne se nwusie no. Efri ase bi ne moti aye ne entia. Ya beton ade ne ekọ. Ti de hu ya se nwusie ne firi akire ho. Ene ya se ya nwusio. Tia munisa ene ya so wata wasefo ne bi o mo hye bibi. Awa akire ho ne ya si o. Afedi ye kakra ye hwe se eja no. Eja na so denden aba. When our fire service for no, boys and statistics almost the same suono. Tugum. Sequence in here was a fire service for no. Eba. Can you be see enemy dimly can I call? So me kwana me say oh Mira, stra why? And I said the Adjei where the nya kase bia. Anos oh na ba kusi anos so enso nika animo.
See baby ash you. Baby ash. Aname Bibiako Bibiako it's now a shop one na uni hana assembly see in your shop one now ha thing ye power near park near hata so near co pay them. And what they better and say, Lady be am between you and one of friend me say, me I require me walk ablikuma thing. One of friend me say, me when they da to na and I'm say, hey fam, me farm atare, me buy and say, baby anyone me be
no na ne de ye adwumenti sasem we ato ye na sasem ka te na ato ye ye nim ne be kwa ka che ye loan for no mpo mo beti ase eti aban ma ne musu no onka bibi mfama na eden ma ye. Saturday
within the High Court area, the Akufo-Addo Museum area, we have some of the drains are very choked. So this National Sanitation Day, we are clearing all those areas that and the Gary project that we are doing, the gutter that we have blocked, we are finding way to give access to some of the waters. And some of the buildings they are putting up at the waterways too, where we are going in to move them so that the water can have its way.
As usual,
Mayor, please. So, since you are going to demolish the place, do you have any alternatives for the victims?
No, there is no victim. You can see the demolition we are doing.
The traders who are affected by this.
Madam, we cannot say because of the traders we allow people to die. What happened here? We just thank God that nobody has lost his life. So if we said we have to fix the capital and we are saying traders, we cannot fix the city. The city must be fixed. If we fix the place, the traders can get a nice place to sell. They can get a good place to sell. Look at the wires there. Look at the wires there. You see, look at the wires there. Look at there's wires everywhere. Is that how the traders want to sell? No. We have to do something about it, and then they can come in and sell. You understand? So listen, once you have given us the mandate to work, we'll make sure we work.
Sometimes we give chance to God, because this thing happening in the night, and if we have lost life, that would have been more disastrous. After the property, we can find a way of replacing them. But if we have lost a life, that would have been impossible to replace. So we thank God for that, but it is too unfortunate that at the time that we are struggling to provide more accommodation for our men and women in the service, we just lost a property. The investigation is going to continue to find out the root cause, but our concern and the concern of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is to extend his sympathy to each and every one of you. You can be rest assured, if he was in town, we'll have been here together. Our Vice President, I briefed here this morning, is also in the Bono region. Definitely, I know he promised that she's coming back this evening, and I know if she gets back this evening, it's most likely tomorrow morning she'll come and visit you again. But that as may be, even though His Excellency is out of town, he has given firm instructions to us to make sure that immediately we try to bring relief to you. Yeah, we cannot replace everything that you got. We cannot comfort you immediately, but we must immediately try to settle it. And that, with the help of the IGP and his woman, we are assuring you that before the weekend, we should try to settle each and every one of you by the grace of God. We are supporting is to immediately, from today, try to get all of you temporary places, even if it is a hotel. They must try immediately to get you a place that you can put your head. We don't want to get men were cramped here and women were cramped out there. We don't want to hear that. We want immediately, by the close of today, all of you should have at least some place temporary to put your head.
Well, after yesterday's heavy downpour, some residents are still scooping water from their residents. Now, we want to find out what exactly we should expect within the next 24 hours. Let's get some answers from GMENT to understand the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Ignatius Kweku-William is a Deputy Director of General Operations at the Ghana Meteorological Agency. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. I'm wondering, what should we expect within the next 24 hours?
Hello and good afternoon to your listeners. I just want to draw your attention to the fact that there's a lot of information that the Ghana Meteorological Agency is giving to the public. So if you want information for the entire week, for the middle of the week, and for the end of the week, this is all information that we provide. For today up until tomorrow and into the weekend, for today, Friday, for tomorrow, Friday.
You have to speak up for us to hear you clearly, Mr. William.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay, so we are looking at from tomorrow, Friday. Okay, so we are expecting some rainfall in the mornings into the afternoon along the western coast and also around the eastern coast. That is from Accra to Aflao in the late afternoons to the evenings. For the middle sector, we are looking at some rainfall tomorrow in the late afternoon into the evening. Same also in a few places for the transition zone into the northern part of the country, where you are going to be able to see some rainfall over the night and into early Saturday morning. It is not going to differ too much also on Saturday. We are expecting wet Saturday around coastal areas around the morning hours and towards the afternoon into the evening for the middle sector, and the transition also from the afternoon into the evening hours. On Sunday, we are looking primarily at the western part of the country along the coast in the mornings into afternoons. For the middle sector, we are expecting a little bit of rainfall from the afternoon, and then progressively into the evenings, we are going to have rainfall from the transitional area to the north.
And are there specific areas, especially in the capital, that we should look out for for flash floods?
Yes, so there are a lot of areas, as you've seen from your news report, that are susceptible to flooding, and these are particular areas around Ofanko, around Taifa, around even Shiashi. These are particular areas, and generally low-lying areas that are known to have issues regarding flood. Also, if you look at the particularly urban areas with a lot of grey infrastructure or tiled surfaces or concreted surfaces where it's not allowing enough penetration into the ground, when there is a quick or very heavy rainfall within a short period of time, you should expect flash floods within those particular areas.
And we know that especially around Circle or Donna, those areas, usually we experience flooding there. Are those areas also included? Should we expect that because of the intensity of the rains, there would be?
Yes, so generally, if from historically, you've known that your area generally sees flooding during this period, this is a time where you should be particularly careful as to what you should be doing and activities that you're doing, especially when you receive alerts from GMET about impending rain. So you should always be on the alert within these particular areas and to be careful of your activities and movements during these times.
One of the greatest criticism that GMET has faced, especially on social media, is that some of your predictions are inaccurate. How are you dealing with that in terms of communication moving forward?
I beg to differ a bit, because with yesterday's rains, if you look at our forecast, then I would let you fact check this, and I'd actually urge you to go onto our website or all our social media platforms. We issued this forecast on Monday, giving the conditions, the outlook for the week. And one of the things that we predicted was this rainstorm yesterday, and which did happen. So you did have a lead time of about 2 to 3 days, expecting this rainfall in there. So it's very unfortunate when forecasters are putting in so much effort, despite the challenges that they go through, to come out with some of this information. And we seem to belittle the efforts of the Ghana Meteorological Agency. And I'd also want people to inquire from the various global platforms. I'm seeing a lot of traction on social media where people are putting a lot of trust in global platforms as compared to what the Ghana Meteorological Agency is putting out. During the thunderstorm observed yesterday, even some of these apps were not reporting them, where GMET had already issued certain warnings ahead of time. I would always urge that people would follow the forecast. GMET currently, we've even increased our forecast from 3 times daily to 4 times daily, and this is updated every 6 hours. So we might give a forecast early in the morning, predicting an event that is going to happen in the afternoon or evening. As the time approaches and the certainty increases, this is where we give out a weather warning or an update. That is not to say that we are now predicting it, but this has already been predicted way ahead of time. It's just that we are not following the information as and when it was presented to be able to prepare. And I gave the clear example of the forecast, the weekly outlook that we gave on Monday, and gave the expectation of rain of what we saw yesterday.
And just before I let you go, we're looking at beyond 24 hours. What should we expect in the coming weeks?
Okay, we also issued a seasonal forecast. That is way in February, predicting near normal to above normal rainfall for this particular time of the year for the April, May, June season. And we are actually in the peak of the rainy season now. So this is where most often we are going to see the intensity and the frequency of the rainfall increase. As I started during the interview, I highlighted certain areas that we're going to receive rainfall from tomorrow into Saturday and Sunday. And if you need more information on this, I'd urge you also to follow all our social media platforms. We're on X, on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. We post regular updates there. And for people who also want to follow our alerts as and when we issue them, all our alerts are carried on Google Public Alert Systems, on windy.com or Meteo Blue, on Faster application, amongst others. And you can also pick it from our website, meteo.gov.gh/alert. So whenever there's an alert issued, you will see it over there.
And then I'm just wondering what your predictions are. Recall that years back, due to the intensity of the rains, the Akufo-Addo Dam spillage happened, and then we had to deal with flooding in that part of the country. We're wondering, is that the case this year? Are you predicting that there could be an intensifying of the kind of rains we're experiencing, especially in the Volta region?
I wouldn't want to comment on issues going naturally beyond our mandate. For GMET, we look at precipitation, and this is what is falling from the atmosphere. Once it hits the ground and converting it to flows and into the amounts into the reservoir, this does not necessarily lie within the mandate of the Ghana Meteorological Agency. We only predict the amount of rainfall that we're going to see.
Okay, thank you so much, William. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse.
You're welcome.
Well, away from that, from 2020 to 2025, the Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Program, funded by the World Bank, has been underway to reduce flooding and strengthen urban resilience, especially in Accra. It focuses on improving drainage systems, strengthening waste management, and delivering climate adaptation works, including the construction of about 18 water retention and detention facilities. The key question we're asking this afternoon on The Pulse is, what real measurable impact has Garrett had in reducing flooding and improving drainage across the Greater Accra region? And 11 years on from the June 3rd disaster, what lessons have we really learned to break this cycle of urban flooding? Well, join me now on Zoom for more on this is Dr. Samuel Doche. He's a climate resilience infrastructure registry expert. I also have Ni Amon Kote. He's a local governance expert. I have Engineer Richard Kofi Ameko. He's head of drainage, Ghana Hydrological Authority. And Dr. Kingsley Ajiman is member of Parliament for Ablorh South constituency and an insurance expert. I appreciate your time, gentlemen, and we'll be hearing from them shortly. But first, let's go to Old Ashongman, where a number of residents have lost their vehicles, properties, and valuable documents to the floods last night. James Aveji is live on the ground for us, and he joins me live with more. James, what can you report?
We are currently at Old Ablorh Adjei here in the Old Ashongman area, and this is the aftermath of the rains of last night. You see a car parked here. This was parked here last night before the rains. It's a good working car, but currently it's stuck here with the flood depositing silt in it, and this is the situation of a car that was parked just last night by the owner in front of the house. It was taken over by flood, and this is what is left of it, which would mean that the engine and other part of the car doesn't look good. We'll go into the house to also know what has happened in the house and how the water has left behind scars of the rain hours after it poured down. And as you can see in your shot, it doesn't look good here in this house. Debris left behind after the rains of last night. I would be finding out briefly whether this is a situation over the years and how, when this started, water started flooding the area. The understanding I get earlier is that this area does not used to get flooded when it rains until recent times, and what really the situation would be here. The owner of the house is here. Will be telling us more. We'll get into the rooms to know what had happened or what is left behind after the rains. Mommy, let's have a chat. Please, what's your name?
Yvonne Mensah.
Is this the situation in your house whenever it rains?
No, but about 8 years ago, we experienced this, not to this extent. And
how long have you been here?
12 years. Okay. 12 years. And I mean, we tried to engage the municipal assembly. The information we had was that somebody has bought a certain stream or something. There's another town called Boy, and channeled, after filling the land, channeled the water to this area. So we've been trying to manage the flood issue since. You can see the way I've raised my ramp and all that. But like, this is the 8th year since we've experienced this massive destruction.
So every year it happens this way?
No, not to this extent. Yes, every year. Anytime it rains, the roads gets flooded.
But
not the house.
So for this particular one, this is the first time we are seeing?
This is the second time, but not to this extent. Yes, the house has flooded before, but not to this extent.
I see. Have you been able to salvage anything? What is left?
No. So far, no.
And she cannot hold back her tears. She said everything has been lost. The water has destroyed every property they have, and that is the level of the water. A shoulder level cuts beyond the middle of the doors and has destroyed everything, left behind mud in the corridors. This, I'm told, used to be a beautiful corridor before last night, and this is what is left behind. So what are we doing? What are you doing to, bring the place back to normal since last night?
Well, I've been trying to organize some laborers to clear the mud and then get some pumping machines to wash off the mud before we go inside. Yesterday I have to move the children to my sister's place, and then eventually we will clean the inside and see what's next.
At what time of the night? I know the rain, there was a first half of it that happened around 8 p.m. and then later in the night another one came. Which one filled the place?
So the first one started around 4 p.m.
Okay.
And then it slowed down a bit, and then the excessive one started around 5:20. Within about 30 minutes, p.m. Within about 30 minutes, I realized the place was filling up. So I went inside. My daughter was in, my little boy was there, and then we realized the water was coming through the bathroom. So we started collecting the water out. Then I saw the compound filling. Then I just...
You were in the room?
Yes, we were in the room. So we have to, looking at the level, we have to climb on the kitchen top. And we were there till around 9 p.m. when we heard that...
climbed up, standing on the kitchen?
Standing on the kitchen top.
With the family?
Yes, with the family. My older son was at work, so the three of us have to climb on the kitchen top. Till around 9 p.m. when Admo and the fire service team and some of the neighbors came around to rescue us. So that was when we were able to move to my sister's place, and then this morning.
You came back to see the water recede by itself, and then this is what is left.
Yes.
Let's go inside and have a look at what is left in the sachets of water hanging all around. Want to believe that those were floating, scattered all around, until the water receded. So these wheelbarrows, were they here before the rains came?
No, it was when I organized the boys to come and clear the dead that we have to rent them and then use it to clear what we can clear. Yeah.
Can we go inside?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we can go inside now and see what is. This is a pavilion, or what is it used for? This side.
I do landscaping, so I've just tried to set up the house in a very beautiful way too.
Oh.
Yeah.
You are
a florist, so okay. That's why there are a lot of plants in the house. So it's just to add up to the beauty of the house.
I see. Okay, we can get inside now. So this is the kitchen?
Yes, this is the kitchen. So last night, the 2 deep freezers have toppled over. The fridge was lying flat, and the other fridge was also lying flat. So we have to climb. I was sitting here. My little boy was here, and my daughter was also here. We have to just climb on top and wait. If you look at the level, you can see where the water was. And wait till the water receded before.
So the water was around here?
Yes, yes. There's the level.
Wow. But all of these things used to be things that were working. I see an oven there.
Yes, everything was working.
So, as it is now, I mean, all of these things.
We've not been able to put on anything. Actually, I can't even find my cylinder connected to the stove. So we've not been.
You haven't found it yet.
No.
Which means that it might have also floated somewhere.
Exactly. I've not been able to put on anything as at now to check what is working and what is not working.
What about these papers?
Okay, so I do project supervision for a few friends, and I mean, this is the reason why I'm actually quite broken. These are documents for friends in abroad, and it actually escaped my mind. It came to the second level of my wardrobe. They were in my wardrobe, and unfortunately,
and so Madam Mensah is broken. Those documents, she said, are actually documents that belong to some friends outside the country, project documents for them, which means that she would have to find a way to see how she can replace them, or she has lost them entirely. And you still see water logged in the fridge over there, in some containers still in the fridge. And I'm told, according to her, all of these things, the fridge and other things, were actually floating in the room and until the water receded. So let's go in more. You see, this should be the sitting room or the living area, and the mud is still collected here, and the place just doesn't look good at all. And so this is the living room, and this is the level, was the level of the water, which should be somewhere at chest level before it receded. I mean, the things here, these are your sofas.
Yes, yeah.
They look fairly new.
I actually bought this with my sister just about 2 months ago. I think it's 7 weeks now.
Whoa.
7 weeks now. Yesterday I tried to move them to this side, but I mean, when the water got quite a lot. It's moved them back.
So you moved them?
Yes, I tried moving them.
To the dining area.
You can see that, yes, even this place is also much affected by... Oh, God.
So, yeah, that's the situation. You see the glasswares in the wardrobe there. All of them have been toppled, and it doesn't look good. She would have a lot of work to do in order to salvage all of these things from the wardrobe there. The glasswares, including plate, teacups, drinking wine glasses, and all of that. This is their dining table, and all that is left is mud all over the glasses, and they would have to do so much more in order to clean it. So what about the so this is the toilet, visitors' toilet? Yes. I see. And that has also been taking over your bedroom. So you see the toilet there, everything has been... The only thing you can see on the floor is water and mud, which they would have to clean later in the course of the day or in the next few weeks to come, before they would be able to reuse the place. The television on the wall, want to believe, was also halfway. Yeah, you see the water level here, which means that half of the TV was also taken. Of course, here at the back, you see the mud that is drying up on the TV as well. So this is the bedroom, I want to believe. So these are your clothes.
So yesterday, when I realized the compound was collecting more water, I decided to pack some of the things from my wardrobe on the bed. I was thinking probably it will just...
Yusuf, come in.
I was thinking it will just... I mean, I wasn't thinking it would...
That it could come...
So I just cleared the last end of the wardrobe, but then it came as far as... This is why I removed the documents. It came as far as this level, and at some point the mattress was floating, and everything is... I don't know. This is so much.
So it means it's only the things at the top of the wardrobe
that is not affected so far.
So what happens? What will you do? You have to throw everything away.
I will try and retrieve the ones that can be used and dispose of the ones that cannot be used. I mean, I can't think of anything currently. I don't know. I can't think straight now. I have to retrieve what can be retrieved and just dispose of the rest.
It's evident because, I mean, the mattresses, the sofas and all of that, they are already, I mean, growing some stench out of the soaked water already, which means that it will not be possible to dry them up and use.
No.
That sofa might have cost you how much?
And it's heartbreaking to watch. The full package is on YouTube. You can go on YouTube right now and watch it. But right now, it's a good time to hear from experts during the conversation. I introduced my guest earlier, Ignatius. He is with the Hydrological Authority. And we're just wondering, the Garrett project really was supposed to address Accra's flooding problem. And it's been years since we started implementing that project, with over $200 million in World Bank funding. And so we're wondering, why are we still seeing flooding after spending millions of dollars, especially in the capital? Mr. Ignatius, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, I'm glad I can hear you clearly. I'm hoping you can hear me. I was wondering why exactly the garage project, which we spent millions of dollars, by the way, to implement years on, is failing to yield the tangible results we actually started the project for. Why are we still seeing flooding after spending millions of dollars?
Thank you very much. Am I audible enough?
You are indeed.
Thank you very much. I mean, listening to should I refer to her as a lady or the woman, I felt very, very traumatized. I am just short of words. Yes, you make clear reference to the garage project, which is true. We have received about $200 million to address the very problem that this lady and the family is facing today. The question we have to ask ourselves is that when it comes to planning, what did we get right and what did we get wrong?
And Dr. Samuel Adjei, you are answering the question I initially posed to Ignatius because he's with the Hydrology Authority.
Yes.
But please make your point and then I'll go back to Ignatius.
Sure. So the argument is this. Yeah, you did mention the garage project. Now let me state clear that, you know, when projects are designed without concrete scientific evidence, money is thrown down into the beach. Now, you see, over the years, Accra has experienced this major flood. I was shocked to see last week, 18th April 1960, before my mother even decided to get married. Then, later on, they gave birth to me.
Okay.
So from 1960.
Okay. Mr. Adjei, I see that you have a lot to say, and I'll come to you, but I wanted to get answers from the Hydrology Authority because they directly are part of the key implementers of some of these projects, and clearly because they offer some sort of technical support to the mother ministry implementing this, which is the Works and Housing Ministry. So, Ignatius, I appreciate your time here on the Pulse. And we just wanted to get updates on this garage project. We spent millions of dollars to implement it. And we're wondering this afternoon on the Pulse, can we really, really see any tangible change in areas where we initially used to record flooding as compared to now? And I'm told that joining us rather is Richard Kofi to give us an answer to that question. Mr. Richard, can you hear me?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Richard.
Okay.
And so we're hoping you have answers. I hope you heard me.
Okay, so if you want a detailed updates on the usage of the amount, 2 million cedis, so $2 million mentioned, it would be appropriate to speak to the project coordinating units under the ministry, which is Garrett. If you want more clarity in that regards. Having said that, in terms of the Garrett project, it is for only one basin in Greater Accra, which is the Akufo-Addo basin. So the perception outside that of Greater Accra that is incorrect. So to speak to the Addo Basin, there are a lot of interventions that Garrett is implementing. So there's a plan, okay, to put up 2 detention ponds upstream at Gayek, to be precise. That is, studies has been done, and the land acquisition would regard a lot of documentations. The ministry is working hard towards that. But then, my sister, what is happening now, the rainfall intensity now is very high. If you look at our attitude to what people are doing upstream, it's really uncalled for. If you go to the Adjei Hills, okay, that is the source of the Addo. There used to be a lot of micro detention ponds up there around Abokobi and the rest. If you go there now, you don't find any. It's so, and people are also developing on the Adjei Hills, changing the land use. So the runoff becomes more part of the city, which is Accra. So, my sister, there are a lot happening. There are some of them that it is not engineering per se, but they are all indisciplined attitudes.
Okay.
You see,
Mr.
Yes.
Richard, I just want to get clarity. I'm going through some of the key things that we said we'll do under this project. And one of the key things you said you do according to the Garrett plan is the construction of 18 retention centers. I want to find out, how many have you constructed as we speak?
Okay, my sister, I think that information is also incorrect. For the actual one to be done is 2. It's 2 sites that we've earmarked for this detention ponds, which I previously said or mentioned to you will be at Gayek atomic area. I don't know whether you know transition. We've earmarked some 2 areas to site those detention ponds where the designs are complete. And as I said, it's about land acquisition. And the ministry is working hard towards that. For the East Pond, which is on the transition side, is secured. Designs are complete. Evaluations are yet to be done, and we will take it up from there. But the 18 you are mentioning was proposed once that the project had wanted to do. But looking at the whole catchment, there are a lot of encroachments if you go to Abokobi, as I mentioned. That is why it's a bit difficult. I'm sure the information I have on the 18 was the proposed one that was cited before the project. But currently, what is on paper now is 2 detention ponds, please. Thank you.
And have you constructed these detention points, the 2 of them?
Not yet. And the World Bank projects, you would have to do a lot of documentations. It goes through a lot of processes. So we are believing God seriously that by the end of this year, we should see something on the ground.
But if my memory serves me right, when this project was launched in 2019, we're told that you had already received funding from the World Bank. So why is it the case that you're still chasing the money as we speak?
This is a bit difficult for me to respond to. That's why I said that if you want more clarity on the money aspect or the funding aspect, the project coordinating unit will be the best in position to respond to this, please.
Quite shocking. The area that you said this project is supposed to focus on, which is in the Addo River area, we are still experiencing massive flooding today. And so what exactly have you done?
If you go, so now what currently we're doing is there's construction ongoing at Accra Academy area, which spans from the Accra Academy School all the way to Pamprom Junction. The contractor has done from Accra Academy to the first light. We are yet to connect it from there to what QGMA has done at Pamprum. So, because that is a business commercial area, there are a lot of activities ongoing. So the contractor with the PCU, they are having a stakeholder engagement and the community sensitization with the people. Because we're going to close that road from Pamprum entirely. So we need to do all this traffic management properly before the work begins. If you look at the opposite side also, there's another intervention from Bank of Ghana all the way to ICGC area, if you know the routes very well. Now, the contractor has done from ICGC to the main highway. If you go, you can send your men on the ground. There's so much happening there. It's also ongoing. And if you go to the Odo Half also, we're having some dredging. There's a dredging ongoing. This for the construction, it's more or less. Let me put it this way: it is a long-term measure, and it takes time to do construction. So for them also, we are also looking at completing it by the end of or mid of next year. All these interventions projects that are ongoing should be completed.
Now, I'm just going through the key recommendations made by the committee set up to probe the June 3rd twin disaster that happened 11 years ago. And one of the key recommendations they made was the regular dredging of Odo River and Koli Lagoon. The key word here is regular. So I'm wondering, how often do you schedule the dredging of the Odo River? Mr. Richard, quite unfortunately, we seem to be losing connection to Mr. Richard Kofi Ameko. He is head of drainage at the Ghana Hydrological Authority. Mr. Richard, I'm hoping you can hear me now. Oh dear. Let's fix the lines because we need answers. Let me go to Ni Amonkote. He's a local governance expert. We appreciate your time here on the Pulse. I'd like to start with your initial reaction. This flooding situation we're experiencing continuously, especially in the Greater Accra region, is it a planning, engineering, or really a local governance issue? Oh dear, we seem to have lost him. Well, we'll try to reconnect our lines to get him. If you just tuned in, we're discussing the perennial flooding, especially here in the Greater Accra region. Let me go back to Mr. Duchi, because you are a climate expert, and so we're just hearing different strands of the conversation. We heard from the Hydrological Authority tell us that really the intensity of the rains have intensified, and so it's making their job quite difficult. From your perspective, what is actually triggering this?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good afternoon to your sharing listeners. Like I indicated in my initial introduction, I said that Accra has experienced major floods for decades. And you refer to the 2011 one or so, including those that have been documented, like I was telling you, from 1960, 1995, 2000, 2015, up to 2022, 2023.
Mr. Doche, you have to speak loud. I'm struggling to hear you.
Okay, yeah, so what I'm saying is that, yes, we can chronologically document the history of flooding or floods in Accra. And I was telling you that I was surprised to see a daily graphic publication of 18th April 1950. where Accra was flooded. Right? I believe the two of us were not born at the time. Okay. Now, the issue about growing cities globally, which includes Accra, will have to be looked within the context of land use planning or spatial development framework. I don't know the exact location where the woman that your colleague was interviewed. The question that you ask yourself would be, when you get to the local authority that provides permits for infrastructure, in this case, residential accommodation to be constructed, what went into that decision making? Yes, climate change may be blamed for the current impact of whether the rainfall is too much or it is too low. Let me indicate that when it comes to the impact of climate change, for example, you need to understand the historical rainfall pattern of the area and ask yourself whether the flooding that is being experienced is human-induced, is engineering defect, or is actually climate change. If, for example, in the past, an area received about 500 millimeters of rainfall, where you constructed gutters or receptacles to receive this amount of rainfall. When these gutters are flooded with rubbish, the little amount of rainfall, even if it is below the historical record, you will see the place becoming flooded. So we have to understand that, yes, the climate has changed, but the question we have to ask is, what was the historical average rainfall within the area that we are talking about, before we can just jump into conclusions by blaming climate change? But if the rainfall at the time was 500 and now it's not 500, then we have to go back and ask ourselves whether it's a development challenge or what are we not doing right. So that is from the climate lens. You have to have a clear scientific data to prove that in the past the rainfall was this amount and now it has doubled, when you have even expanded your gutters or your collecting points and still your area is being flooded. Then we can make a case for climate change. But if we cannot do that, then we cannot make a case for climate change. Then we have to be looking at development challenge, how we plan our cities. How we plan our cities. Because like the gentleman was talking about, if one person should block a waterway, if one person's development activity should convert a waterlogged area into a dry land, what will happen is that all the rest of the people downstream, anytime there's going to be rainfall, those people have to bear the brunt of that individual who is enjoying upstream. Are you getting me?
I'm getting you, Mr. Adjei. And the big question we're asking this afternoon is really, are we building infrastructures that are genuinely climate resilient? And I'll let you answer that question, but stay with me, Dr. Adjei. Let me bring in Dr. Kingsley Agyeman. He's a member of parliament and an insurance expert. I want to get his thoughts on this because it appears that we're failing to deal with the perennial flooding, especially in Accra. So should we explore insurance packages for people who may be affected? But every year, hundreds of properties we know get lost. I recall the previous administration, as far back as 2019, made an ambitious promise to transform the Odo River. Let's watch this video. We'll be right back. Stay with me. We'll be right back.
facilities. So along we have recreational facilities, other infrastructure, we can have some hotels will come at the end, and this makes the whole place. Then we're dredging all the way through Cycle to Kwale Lagoon, where we call the Clep Interceptor. From there, we end up at the estuary into the sea. Before the commencement of the work, this is how the situation was. The channels were heavily silted. Along the channel, you can see very heavy siltation. So this is the beginning. Then during the process of the dredging, we had these situations. Gradually, we come up to the end. Then finally, this is the stage that we have reached. And then after that, there was a continuation to carry out the silting, because as we progress, more silt come, and you have to continue dredging. This dredging, cleaning up, is going to take about 6 months to complete this one. Then the Kwale Lagoon itself will take a longer time, because that's where we have more composition of material, which needs to take a longer time, maybe about a year or two to finish. We're going to have recreational facilities. That is the sea outfall. So along we have recreational facilities, other infrastructure, we can have some hotels will come at the end, and this makes the whole place. Then we're dredging all the way through Cycle to Kwale Lagoon, where we call the Clep Interceptor. From there, we end up at the estuary into the sea. Before the commencement of the work, this is how the situation was. The channels were heavily silted. Along the channel, you can see very heavy siltation. So this is the beginning. Then during the process of the dredging, we had these situations. Gradually, we come up to the end. Then finally, this is the stage that we have reached. And then after that, there was a continuation to carry out the silting, because as we progress, more silt come, and you have to continue dredging.
What you just saw is the Lower Lagoon development impression. The previous administration was quite ambitious to transform the capital. And you could see in that video that they were, even at that time, dredging the Odo River. Quite an ambitious project. This afternoon, we're going to be probing why exactly that project is non-existent. But Dr. Kingsley Agyeman is with me. He is a member of parliament and an insurance expert. I just wanted to get your thoughts. Every year, hundreds of cities get lost. We lose properties, like we've seen in the video we played, structures and lives. But I'm wondering, what role can insurance play, at least knowing fully well that as we speak, we're yet to address this issue of planning and engineering. Could we at least provide insurance for individuals who are affected?
Thank you very much, and I thank you for the invitation to this national discussion. For me, I think the anxiety, the anguish are all perennial, and we are not ready to solve anything. Let me ask you, if you are confronted with a situation where you can't control, what do? You have to find a way to either treat it or transfer it to a vehicle that will be more accurate in solving it. I mean, disasters in this country, whether we like it or not, are either man-made or natural. And for the floods in Accra, it's a combination of the two. We don't have control over our climate. The rains will keep coming. We are all contributing to the intensity or the severity of the problem. Our attitudes and lifestyles are contributing greatly to these floods anytime they come up, and the fires and stuff like that. So I think in March last year, I asked the Minister of Interior his plans towards these disasters, because there's an insurance provision, Section 218 of the Insurance Act, that makes it compulsory for commercial buildings, shops and stuff like that to be insured. But going beyond that and I mean escalating the discussion further, you realize that insurance companies may not be in a position to even compensate for these lifestyle, these attitudes that we put up as Ghanaians. So I think what we need to do is to mimic what is the best practices globally, especially in most jurisdictions. We have what we call the National or Special Levies, the National Disaster Risk Management Fund. If you go to the Philippines, if you go to Japan, if you go to Mexico, if you go to India, and even the UK, all these countries have specific risk or disasters that are very, very attached to their lifestyle kind of. So for instance, if you go to Mexico, you'll be looking at the floods. If you go to Japan, you are looking at the earthquakes. If you go to Mexico, it's the floods and the hurricane. These are disasters that happens every year that they do not have much control over, either naturally or their lifestyles are contributing towards it. So I believe that escalating beyond the insurance, we should begin to have a National Disaster Risk Management Fund. Because the video that you showed, that my predecessor came out with a very fantastic idea on how to drag the Addo and stuff like that, could not have continued because of maybe funding. So if you have this National Disaster Risk Management Fund, and we're going to have sources that are ring-fenced, which could include maybe special taxes and levies. We could have central government budgetary allocation towards it. We can have corporate social responsibility donations, especially from the mines and the extractive industries. We can again look at even a special contribution allocation from the National Petroleum Revenue. Per percentage will come to it because, Madam, this is a lifestyle situation. I heard the engineers talking about every land use, but the bottom line, the crack say, our lifestyles are fueling these activities and increasing the severities of it. We can't continue to have this path. The Interior Minister, by virtue of the question that I asked him in March 2025, portrayed a picture that sought to present that all was well when it came to enforcement with regards to the Section 218 of the Insurance Act. So let's have a national picture of this situation. I heard another man talking about 1960 floods and stuff like that. It has come to live with us. We have to fund it through these vehicles that are provided. Other than that, every year we'll continue to share, we'll continue to empathize with victims, and it can be any of us. You see, it goes beyond buildings. Yesterday's flood, if you are in Accra and you happen to be around the Imensa, the Tishinwa, or those enclaves, you would have been caught into it. Therefore, let's have a fund, a National Disaster Risk Management Fund, with the sources of funding coming from all those vehicles that are provided, so that when they happen, at least everybody is contributing to the lifestyle that we are all polluting our water bodies. For instance, yesterday's rain, if you saw the debris, you realize that a lot of people were throwing garbage into the streams that were flowing as a result of the rainfall. So I think we have to have this national thing. Insurance has come to provide some form of protection, and beyond the insurance protection by this private or limited liability companies, this national fund will go a long way to help us by mimicking what is done in Japan, India, the Philippines, Mexico, and even the UK.
And it's interesting you make mention of that, because I'm going through some of the key recommendations made by the committee set up to probe the June 3rd twin disasters. And one of the key recommendations they made was the establishment of a permanent national disaster relief fund for victims. As to if that has been established by government, we cannot tell. But stay with me, Dr. Kingsley, and I also have Dr. Doche still with me on the line. But let me go to Ni Kote. He's a local governance expert. And the question we're asking this afternoon, this flooding challenge we're experiencing, is it an engineering problem or is it a local governance issue? Because we're hearing people build on waterways.
Okay, Faustina, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so it is both engineering and local government issues. Engineering because we now have what we call storm water, not ordinary rainwater. They are becoming storm water. And as we all know, Accra is surrounded by what we call the chain mountains, from Shai Hills through to the Krapim Hills, to the Sawam area, and then Makati Hill. So every human activity at the upstream will have effect down here, at the downstream. And as we know, Accra also has about 5 water basins. And these water basins are from Sakumo Basin, the Peshi Basin, the Densu Basin, the Unyansha and Odo Basin, then the Lafa Basin between Accra and the Dansoman. So it depends on where the rainwater is coming from. Those areas will have to suffer, So if you look at the Greater Accra Resilience and Integrated Development Project, they said they were going to build 18 water retentions along the basin, so we can hold the the storm water from hitting Accra with that speed. And they prepared a budget of 200 million, somewhere 2021, and then they came in again and requested for $150 million. That made it 350 million. So far, they have spent 127 million, and we are still back to ground zero. So I really don't know what happened. And we were not able to even construct one water retention, even one, to hold the storm water before releasing it into the sea, you see. And now, secondly, when you talk about refuse, that is the local government aspect, we have established about 24 municipalities in Accra, and they don't have waste management department. I wonder how they can manage waste, because you need a waste management department to strategically plan towards collecting all the waste that is generated in your municipality. But in the situation that we find ourselves in, we have environmental officers who are in charge of waste in the various municipalities. And what they have done is to place what we call the skips in electoral areas. So people will go carry their waste and go and dump there. And some have been engaged by waste contractors, what we call the polluter pay system. So they come to your doorsteps, and at the end, we collect about 60% of the waste generated in every municipality. Then the 40, we either do open burning or find itself in the drains. So we will always visit this flood when it rains. And the more serious aspect of all this is, when the rains are over, we all go to sleep. And we know the rain starts from April, May, June, and then it goes down, then probably starts somewhere September or October. And if it doesn't come, then we are jumping, and that is okay. But when the rain comes again, then the havoc returns.
And I like how you've highlighted the problem. And so I'm wondering, for individuals who build along waterways, some of them would show building permits provided by the local assembly. How can we deal with that aspect of the challenge effectively?
I am not sure someone has really built on a waterway and is showing a permit. I'm not sure about that. We keep saying that. It's like everybody is saying that. But who has ever seen a permit covering a building in a waterway. Because it is not one person's business to issue a permit. It's a whole team led by a coordinating director. So I wonder how, when people say, yes, I have permit, who has seen a permit, a genuine permit in a waterway? I mean, it is not done right. I cannot accept that. What happens is, yes, building inspectors, they go and then do their own negotiations with the developer, and then they turn blind eye at what's going on. The work starts somewhere in a long holiday, let's say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, by Monday, he has reached wherever he wants to reach with the building. And then the next week, when the building inspector comes, he won't use that channel because he knows what he has done there. So if somebody says that he has a permit to build in a waterway, I will be surprised. And then this administration is proposing the decentralization of especially the local governance system. Looking at the failure of the assembly specifically to address some of these issues, especially with regards to flooding in the past, do you think that can effectively deal with the problem? When you talk about decentralization, what are you referring to? Well, especially with the assemblies in terms of how we operate, the planning, special planning, decentralizing the process to ensure that we break down the drainage system, construction, and what have not. Do you think that's the way to go? Well, the assemblies, I wonder if they have capacity to handle hydrological problems. They are bigger than the assemblies. They cannot do anything when it comes to building water retentions and all that. No, they cannot do it. That is why we have the Ghana Hydrological Authority to handle that. So whether we decentralize more or turn around the whole, elect MMDTs and all that, unless we change the concept. And as we all know, assemblies have limits that they can even give out as a contract. So, I mean, a whole year, assemblies budget will be somewhere around between 4 to 6 million. And they have their own expenses to run and all that. So if you say they should now go and look at water retention as facility for them to construct, I'm afraid they can't do that. But since the assemblies give building permits just to ease the workload, can they not also be charged to setting up some of these things, the building of drainage and what have not? That's what I'm saying. It depends on the size of the drainage. If you have a storm drain or a water retention, that is bigger than the assembly's, how do you call it, funding. They can't do that. No. They don't have that capacity. That's what I'm saying. It is Ghana Hydrological Authority. That is their area. Yes, So, yes, as for the permit and other issues, lack of resources by, the building inspectors, for instance. If you have a building inspector in charge of an area like Ghana East, where Abokobi and from Taifa, Domi, Kwabenya is concerned, I wonder how a building inspector can go around inspecting areas where people are building. How is he going to do that? Without transport, without motorbikes, without anything. How is he going to do that? Stay with me, Mr. Ninoy. Let me go straight to Dr. Doche, because we're hoping that in the future we can start building climate resilient structures. Is it possible in our part of the world? And what must we do to get there?
Yeah, thank you very much. The discussion is very interesting. You see, let me emphasize that cities or countries cannot be built through a project approach. What we are doing in this country is a project approach. That at a given point in time, a problem will surface, then we struggle to look for money, then try to just address the problem in that particular location. All the people who have spoken so far, when you take the Accra alone, about 29 municipalities or assemblies, what is the coordination level between these assemblies? Because each of them, of course, they are looking for money, internally generated resources, and what have you. So what is the coordination among them? That is very weak. Now, when it comes to resilient infrastructure, where we are all exposed to the vagrants of climate change, then the conversation would then move in a different direction. Like I said, the rain will not stop coming. Okay? So if we continue to build our settlements in natural way, what we are doing is that we are only asking the water or the rain to find another route. We are asking the rainfall to find another route. So when you look at serious cities that have a strong spatial development planning framework, when an area is designated a playing field, when an area is designated for whether it's a classroom or it is whatever, or it is just for recreational facility, that has to be complied with. There would not be a day where somebody will get up and say, okay, even though this place is for recreational purposes, I'm buying it because I have what it takes to buy it and start putting up a structure. I think when we begin to move away from project approach to policy or program approach, then we may be on the way to averting future disasters. They will continue to occur. You see, it is very painful that you will not participate in a problem, but you'll be called upon to pay for the solution. Now, human beings create a problem. They should be held accountable for the problem they created. So yes, the people are proposing disaster management fund or insurance fund and what have you. Who contributes to that fund? Government. Who is the people developing the infrastructure? Is it government or government individuals and what have you? And let me diverse more. When you look at our regulations, our laws, how does our laws punish environmental degradation or, yes, how does our laws punish them? The punishment is more than incentive for people to continue doing what they are doing. The whole of Accra, do we have a watershed management area? The answer is no. Yes, we are talking about raising, what about storage area? But if you don't have a plan, that forbids people from putting up structures in places where naturally those places are meant to collect water. No matter how much you put in a fund, you are not going to address the problem because the rain will not stop coming. The rain, they will not stop. Next year it will come. I agree with one of the discussants who said, oh, when the problem is over, then everybody goes to sleep. Then we are waiting for the next year, May, June, then we come again. I hope that this year, looking at the level, will serve as a starting point to rewrite our development pathway. Because, you see, I think in 2017, World Bank did an assessment on the cost of environmental degradation to our GDP. And it's hovering around between 6, 7, getting to 10% of our GDP. That is over $6 billion annually. So if we are losing over $6 billion annually, to actions that largely caused by ourselves, then partly by nature, the question is how much are we deriving from our natural resources to overcome that? So for me, I think the argument will be
and
we should move away from what we are doing now, have a true development that will not outpace scientific planning. I indicated that if we have fragmentation in institutional responsibility, then our flood control, our flood management is not going to end now.
Okay. And then, Doc, stay with me. Thankfully, I have with me Engineer Richard Kofi Ameko. He's with the Ghana Hydrological Authority, and we're engaging him earlier. We appreciate your time, and I'm glad I have you back. Before I lost you, I was just finding out how regularly you dredge the Addo River. You have some need for me to hear you clearly. Mr. Richard, I'm hoping that you can hear me clearly, and I'm hoping that we can hear you as well. Let's try one more time. One of the key recommendations that we saw being made by the committee set up to probe the June disaster, I can hear you now, was that the Addo River and Korle Lagoon should be dredged regularly. And so I'm finding out from you how regularly you dredge the Addo River.
Okay, so the Addo dredging was awarded based on 4 years contracts. So, and it was staggered in 2 forms. The first one is the 1 year is for deferred dredging. If I say deferred dredging, meaning that the materials already existing in the channel must be cleared to a design level. Just after that, the routine maintenance is continuous. But then, what they're currently doing is they've done majority of the deferred dredging, but currently they are the lower lagoon side. The issue here is there is also another intervention of putting in a sand trap within the line section. If I say line section, where the concrete drain starts from Cap to Agogloshi Bridge. So we're going to site 2 sand traps within the channel, and one will be at Carnation area, at least to reduce the number of sedimentations that comes into the channel, which has a form of spreading. So once we have the sand trap within the channel, it's going to collect in that particular area for easy maintenance. So to come back to your question, the contract is for 4 years. So we are believing God seriously by close of next 2 years, they should be done with the dredging. And then Akufo-Addo for future maintenance.
But Richard, based on this 4-year contract in a year, how many times will the
online?
You are online, Richard. I want to find out, based on this 4-year contract, how many times within a year would you dredge the Addo River?
No, it should be a regular. It should be a constant dredging.
Okay.
You can't leave gaps. You cannot leave gaps. The contract is for 4 years.
Okay.
So constantly
Constantly means how many times in a month, for example? How many times in 3 months? How many times do you do the dredging of the Addo River in a year, roughly?
No, so it cannot be set in that manner. You should be working every day. Every day, machine should be in clearing the sedimentation. Okay. But then with the World Bank rules, this is where we find ourselves a bit tight. You would have to dredge the material, stockpile it for it to dewater, do the screening before you do the haulage. You know, the silt has some component. I mean, it has a lot of solid waste and plastic and stuff. So you need to do that sorting before sending it to the final disposal site. So, you know, the sorting is the issue now. And then the final disposal site, where we send them materials, is also another issue that we are battling with in terms of the handling site, where to stop up all this material and be doing the sorting is also another issue. So we are having a discussion with the bank.
Okay.
Having said that, I mean, there are works ongoing.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go to...
Allow me to come in. I'll give you the ample time to respond. I want to understand. Whilst the proposal was made, did you not know that you would need a place to store the waste for sorting to be done? Why is that challenge springing up now? Wasn't there ample consultation before the implementation of the project? Mr. Richard.
Sorry, the line keeps on dropping. I didn't hear the question. Yes, I can hear you now.
I'm glad you're back, and I'm glad you can hear me. I'm saying when it comes to the sorting of the waste collected from the river, and then the storage in a facility, which you made mention right now that is a challenge. Why is that now springing up? Especially because you must have done consultation before the implementation of the project. Is it the fact that you failed to see this coming?
No, so this is contractual, issues that we would have to, yes, we can say that we saw it coming, depending on the volume of material. All the studies were done, and we started a place where to send all these dredge materials. But then when work began, that is where all this started emanating, started coming up. Okay, you know, sometimes you can plan for all this, but when it starts the project, then it becomes an issue. But we are having a headway now. You know, the agenda 1 site, I don't know what I remember, that's where there used to be onion sellers that they cleared. The plan was to use that site for the handling site and then sorting.
That's the Agbogloshi onion market.
Look at what's happening there now.
Okay.
Exactly. But now the space has been taken over, and it's something that we are all. It's a bit tough, but we're finding a way out. But dredging is happening anyway. If you don't mind, you can send your men on the ground to go and see for yourselves, please.
Richard, you say
and
it's
you know,
a bit
the point
tough.
also is that the more you dredge, sediment. No, what I'm trying to say is sediment keeps on coming from upstream. You dredge, it comes. You dredge, it comes. That is where we are So we are also trying to plead with the local authorities within the basin so that they can also enforce the laws. Ghana, we have 9 laws, okay? People not to build on waterway, people not to build on buffers and the rest. People are not supposed to pave everywhere in their homes. We have all these bylaws, but we are not enforcing it. At least if this is, if we control development, I'm sure this kind of sediment that comes into the Addo will be minimal.
And then let's wrap up with an analysis. From where I sit, I'm finding it quite difficult to see the impact the Garrett project is actually having. The retention basins have not been constructed. You mentioned funding challenges. We're yet to see really a reduction in flooding in Addo River and its surrounding areas. So really, what exactly have you achieved?
Okay, so I did not say we have funding problems.
Okay. What did you say?
What I said was, okay, I said land acquisition, where to site the detention ponds, which I mentioned 2 areas at Gaye. Okay, where we've acquired one area and it's left with the other. So, and I said that designs are complete, evaluations are done, it's left with the implementation. So, I'm sure before the end of this year, we will start something.
Before the end of this year? And what timeline are you giving yourself to complete?
Yes.
Richard, what timeline are you giving yourself to complete it?
My sister, as I said before, I'm from Hydro, Ghana Hydrological Authority. There is a project coordinating unit that is in charge of the Garrett project.
Okay.
So there's a coordinator. So if you want more detailed and clarity on this matter, I would plead with you that your men can go to Garrett and get more information on this, please.
And we'll be doing that for our audience because we want answers. And so from where you sit, you cannot give us a timeline, but you're just telling us that you can start at least before the end of the year. Am I correct?
Very well. Yes.
Thank you so much for your time. And we'll be making attempts to reach the coordinator of the Garrett project. Clearly, we need answers. Money has been spent on what exactly we cannot tell. And so that's why we're probing this here on the Joy News channel. Well, I still have with me Dr. Kingsley Agyeman. And as we wrap up the conversation, I want to take your final words. What can we do really? This happens every year. We report on it as reporters on the ground, but can we truly see change? What can be done at the local level to see the change we require in this country?
Okay, so there's enough narrative on this, and we have to do what we need to do. We need to set up this fund. We seriously need to set up this fund. It's not negotiable. Other than that, we'll come back again next year, and we'll have the same repeat, which is very backward. From what I said. So respectfully, we have annexed the prosperity and the continuity of this country to the government. So we hope the presidency takes this suggestion very seriously. Establishment of the National Disaster Risk Management Fund with the sources of funding coming from the tools that are prescribed, and it can be added on. We don't need to double check this. We don't need to do the usual committee, stakeholder, blah, 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 blah. People are getting stranded. The properties are being destroyed. There should be a vehicle to pay for it. And all of us must contribute to the payment of this because it is largely lifestyle and our attitude.
Thank you so much, Doc. Let me also get the final word of Dr. Samuel Doche.
Thank you very much. I think what I want to say is that if we want to see Accra come out of this problem, then we have to begin to do actual flood modeling, watershed analysis, climate projection, improve or enhance our environmental impact assessment. Otherwise, and stop the project-based approach and go into a comprehensive policy decision making to address the problem. So otherwise, we'll come back next year, 2027, and be having the same discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doc. And I'm wrapping up with Nikote as well. He's a local governance expert. Your final words. Oh dear, we seem to have lost Nikote. Well, that's a conversation we've had here on The Pulse. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Earlier, I spoke to Nikote. He's a local governance expert. I also spoke to Dr. Kingsley Agyeman. He's a member of parliament and an insurance expert. I also spoke to Engineer Richard Kofi Ameko. He's with the Ghana Hydrological Authority. Thank you so much, gentlemen, and also Dr. Adjei as well. He's a climate resilience expert. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse, but we're still following this up, and we'll try and get Garrett here, the coordinator of the project, to give you answers. Well, away from that, in the northern Ghanaian town of Boku, residents are increasingly turning to electric bikes as a cleaner and cheaper way to move around town. The shift began after restrictions were placed on petrol-powered motorbikes during years of conflict in the area, forcing many workers, traders, and students to look for alternatives. Well, now many traders and riders say electric bikes are helping them save money, reduce exposure to smoke pollution, and travel more comfortably in Boku's busy roads. Mahmoud Nuruddin reports from Boku.
25-year-old Bukari Rahinatu remembers when riding through Boku meant inhaling thick exhaust fumes every day.
Sometimes I could cough for a very long time. You could smell the smoke everywhere. And with the e-bike, the electric bike, it's quieter and safer.
Rahinatu is among a growing number of residents embracing electric bikes as an alternative means of transport. The rise of electric bikes in Boku did not begin with climate policy or government subsidies. Following years of tribal conflict, authorities imposed restrictions on petrol-powered motorbikes, which were seen as enabling fast-moving attacks. But without motorbikes, life became difficult for traders, workers, and students. Electric bikes quickly emerged as an alternative. At the center of the transition is Akim Girma, a teacher and entrepreneur who began importing electric bikes into Boku in 2023.
My goal is not just to sell electric bicycles. My goal is to improve the health of our town and its people.
Girma says demand has steadily increased as residents experience the benefits firsthand.
Now children walk in cleaner air. Market women, workers, and students ride their bicycles within town and to neighboring towns like Zevila, Garu, and other towns.
Trader Bashiru Shafau says she has already noticed a difference in her daily life.
With the motorbike, when you use it, it gives noise, and there is pollution too because of the gas you use. No, it pollutes the environment. But with this one, there is no noise. When you are going, nobody will know that you are even riding something. So to me, compare this one to a motorbike. This one is safer than a motorbike.
But the e-bike, I'm not buying any for fine. I'll just charge it and roam anyway, handle it very well and roam back gentle.
Health experts say the benefits of cleaner transport are significant. According to the World Health Organization, air pollution contributes to an estimated 7 million deaths globally every year. In Ghana, transport emissions remain a major source of poor air quality. Dr. Godwin Akufo-Addo is a clean transport researcher at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
Conventional motorcycle has to meter the fuel going into the chamber to burn, and it requires less time to burn, and so you have emissions of hydrocarbon, carbon monoxide, oxides of nitrogen, and even if it is, the emissions is very clean, you have carbon dioxide, high carbon dioxide emissions. You don't have that for electric bicycle, even though it also relies on the efficiency of the power grid, the national grid. If you take Ghana's national grid, it's clean, and so you are going to have emission savings. For example, if you take carbon dioxide emission savings, about half if you compare electric bicycle to conventional motorcycle. Emission is halved for carbon dioxide, for instance. So in all instances, in terms of emissions, an electric bicycle will produce lesser emissions, at least 50% less carbon dioxide emissions compared with conventional motorcycles.
Health experts say the shift to electric mobility could have major public health benefits.
The moment we generate these gases into the air, because these gases do not stay in the air, finds its way into our bodies.
Associate Professor Napoleon Sam is an epidemiologist at the University for Development Studies.
If people are shifting focus from what we call the traditional motorbikes onto electronic motorbikes, then definitely there will be kind of reduction in that effect. Either way, you would have coughing, but because they are no more doing it, there will be a gradual effect, and that gradual effect can result to the less discomfort they are talking about, or the less coughing they are talking about. What we need to remember is that whenever the exposure is reduced, or whenever the smoke is reduced, there is what we call the lungs. Our lungs is able to breathe again. And for that matter, I would say that it's highly credible.
He says prolonged exposure to emissions from fuel-powered motorbikes can seriously affect human health. The associate professor says children, pregnant women, and older people are especially vulnerable to polluted air.
So the children, as we know that their lungs are always still developing. So indeed, if you have lungs developing and then you are being exposed, the tendency of having reduced lung growth is there. Reduced lung growth. And sometimes it may increase what we call the asthma risk. So it can cause that. Then when pregnant women can suffer what we call low birth weight. And then sometimes the premature birth too is also part of that.
For many residents, the attraction is not only clean air but lower cost. Unlike petrol motorbikes, electric bikes do not require daily fuel purchases. Riders say charging overnight can cost less than 5 Ghana cedis and power by throughout the day. Hakim again.
It requires just 2 kilowatts of power to be fully charged. And when charged, it covers 90 to 100 kilometers. On a single charge, the iMeet 500 watt covers 90 to 100 kilometers before you'll be required to charge again. To put 90 to 100 kilometers in perspective, that is like riding the Imid bicycle from Boku to Bolga. And you will be required to charge it in Bolga, then return to Boku again. With this, if you are to use it on your short daily commute, it should take you within 4 to 5 days before it will run out. So it's actually not something that runs out within hours, but it can take you days. And this has been the most challenging part for us to be able to convince people that the electric bicycle does not come with a battery that just runs out within hours, but it can actually last for days.
The bikes are not without challenges. Boku still lacks public charging stations, and electricity supply can sometimes be unreliable. But many riders say the benefits outweigh the difficulties. Across Africa, motorbike use is growing rapidly. At the same time, countries are searching for cleaner ways to reduce pollution and improve public health. In Ghana, the government has introduced policies to support electric vehicles. In 2023, the country launched a national electric vehicle policy and announced tax incentives for some electric vehicle imports, but smaller grassroots adapters like those in Boku remain largely outside those incentives.
If policymakers will consider tax exemption for electric bicycles, e-pass and accessories, this will significantly reduce the cost of electric bicycles and accessories for entry level customers. That's customers that are yet to buy. And if that is done, significantly, the cost of the electric bicycles will be reduced drastically, and many more people will consider joining the net, and we have more people using electric bicycles.
Still, residents are not waiting. They are building the transition themselves. Osman Sharif is a technician.
Greener transportation means healthier communities. And with the introduction of electric bikes, traders, market women, students find it very easy to get to their final destination without getting exhausted.
I will continue using my electric bike because I feel safer and healthier, and I no longer cough from smoke from the fuel motorbike.
This story was produced in collaboration with New Narratives as part of the Clean Air Reporting Project. Funding was provided by the Clean Air Fund, which had no say in the story's content. A report by Mohammed Noordin.
Well, let's head now to Bogosu Prestia, where families sold land and personal belongings to survive when the Bogosu Prestia mine shut down, throwing surrounding communities into hardship. Traditional and community leaders say the prolonged closure stalled development, deepened unemployment, and weakened local businesses. Nearly 2 years later, they believe the return of mining activities under heat goldfields is beginning to restore economic life and confidence in the future. There is more in the following report.
For decades, life in Bogoso and Prestia revolved around one thing: mining. The mines provided jobs, supported businesses, and kept money circulating through the local economy. Then, operations ground to a halt, and for nearly 2 years, the shutdown was felt across the mining communities.
Some were even selling their lands, some were selling their properties to feed their family. It was very bad.
Nana Kwabena Tenkran is the Odikro of Crew Town in Swetchiri. He watched the downturn unfold from his palace. For him, the collapse of the mine brought economic life in the community to a standstill.
Mine gives our people employment. The mine gives our people, let's say, money to stay or to live. Any money that comes from the mine stays here. Some stays here, so it makes our economic activities grow. So it got to a time there was nothing moving here. It was just we, the citizens, or we, the natives that were around.
The shutdown affected more than mine workers, contractors, suppliers, and service providers also found themselves struggling to survive. Among them was James Kwaku. He leads Locums, an association of 18 local companies providing mining services. Even before the mine shut down, many of his members were grappling with months of unpaid invoices from the previous operators. And when operations stopped completely, the situation became even worse.
Some of us had gone to borrow from the banks, borrow from friends, and people, my members, some of their money, some of their properties, assets were taken away from them because of FGR's inability to pay us. During the time that we were in the house, some of my members were even arrested. Yes. And some lost their properties. Some of us, because they owed the banks, the banks were chasing them. Some of us had to buy sell some of our trucks to make end live. So we suffered during that time we were in the house.
Then came a new operator. In late 2024, Heath Goldfields took over the Bogoso Prestea mines. The company inherited a mine burdened by debt, legal disputes, and years of underinvestment. For many residents, the question was whether the mine could be revived at all. Nana Tenkran says the first signs of change appeared before gold production resumed.
When Heat came, they didn't start even production, and they didn't start, let's say, milling or bringing out gold, but they started paying the debt, some of the debt that FGR incurred.
Before Heat came, they paid the legacy debt, $1 million to Locums and its members. So we used that $1 million to mobilize to start the mining for Heat. It will interest you to know that we have the complete technical know-how in Prestea and its environment. Yes, Prestea, Bogoso, Bepo, Bondi. We employed mining engineers from this catchment area. We employed surveyors from this catchment area. We employed HR from this, ADT operators, highway truck operators, operators like excavator operators, big excavator operators. We employ all of them from here. So in our start, we have our policy is we have 90% of the workers from this catchment area. You understand? So when you talk about employment, we have employed especially the youth. Yeah, the emphasis especially the youth. We have employed 450 workers from this catchment area. The rest, about just 5% or 10% are from outside. That is what Locums have done for the community.
For former Member of Parliament for Prestea Huni Valley, Kwesi Blay, the significance of the restart goes beyond employment. He believes the community should judge the company based on the conditions it inherited.
He never came in when the company was in process, it was in progress. They came in at the time that everything has shuffled. The company was down for 2 years. The community, the workers, the Nananum, everybody was clamoring for a new company to come in. Thanks be to God, the government of the day placed the mine on tender. Heat came in, bid it, and they won. All this while, none of the community members, those of us who are agitating that Heat must leave, none of us came out to say that no, because of A, B, C, D, Heat must not be given the mining lease. We were applauded when Heat was given the mining lease. They won the bid, all right. They came in, they started operations.
The company's return has not been without criticism. Some residents and activists have questioned whether HEAT has the financial capacity to fully revive the mine and restore underground operations. But traditional leaders say expectations must be realistic.
It's too early to judge them now, because they just started production last year, October. All this while when the lease was given to them, there was court injunctions and this, court issues, and they started operation this October. You are saying they should do what what somebody is doing or somebody has done within this space of 6 or 7 months. It can't be possible. Mining is not run like that.
For now, many in Bogoso and Prestia are watching closely, not because all the answers have arrived, but because after 2 difficult years, there are signs that economic activity is returning. Workers are back on site, contractors are back in business, and money is beginning to move through the communities again.
This is the first time that we are having an indigenous mining company to come and then operate in a mine in the community. Over the years, it's been the foreigners. When they mine, at the end of the year, they take the dividends out. By my virtue as a former member of parliament, we traveled to Johannesburg. We saw the type of investment that Joburg is made of. You don't go to Joburg and find an Australian company or an Indian company or Nigerian company doing mining over there. They are all indigenous mining companies. So how can't we also support our own? Instead, we are advocating for Chinese. Who does galamsey more than the Chinese people? The community is ever prepared to engage them, sit down with them. When we find anything wanting, we will let the minister and the government that because of A, B, C, D, HEAT can't operate in the community. So therefore, terminate their lunches, give it to another person. Until that thing is done, HEAT must work.
The future of the Bogoso Prestia mines remains a work in progress. The underground workings still need rehabilitation. Production must be sustained, and the promises of development will ultimately be judged by results. But for communities that endured nearly 2 years of uncertainty, the return of mining has brought something many feared was disappearing: hope.
Well, imagine being woken at dawn by armed policemen in mass who order you out of your home, pack your belongings outside, and leave you and your family with nowhere to go before marking your building for demolition. That is the reality facing several residents of Savannah Junction near Tema Community 25 after what they describe as forceful eviction involving a private developer backed by armed security personnel. The residents say the dawn operation was carried out to enforce a court ruling in favor of the developer. Some of the affected residents, including owners of 4- and 5-bedroom houses, insist they legally acquired the land from a previous owner and have lived for years in the said apartment. They say they relied on an earlier court judgment which recognized that sellers in that area, the previous seller, had ownership, according to them, and they claim that they were not given prior notice before the latest ruling was enforced. Max Wababa visited the community and has the rest of the story.
Andel, we'll come back for you, okay? Okay?
Meet Abba, not her real name. Standing outside her locked gates, she gently pets her dog whilst contemplating her next move. For the past 13 years, this 4-bedroom house has been home to Abba, her husband, and their 4 children and other relatives. Today, they face the prospect of losing it all with the property marked for demolition. A truck and pickup loaded with the family's belongings is parked outside the house. Abba's 9-year-old daughter says she's traumatized after armed police officers Some wearing masks stormed their home in the morning.
So this morning I was going to school and they were holding guns and they were coming to our house. I was in the car outside, so I didn't really hear what they were saying. But I just realized my father and my mother were fighting for the house. I've not really seen somebody holding like a real gun. I've only seen water guns, those playful toys, and I was really, really traumatized. But when my mother came to me, she was like, everything is going to be okay. Okay, deep down right now, I'm very sad leaving my home, going to a new home.
Abba says years of hard work and investment are about to go down the drain. She insists the family conducted due diligence before purchasing the land from what they believed were the rightful owners. But a court ruling has now turned their lives upside down.
We were forced out, I should say, because we were dealing with armed men. And the last thing you would want to do is to hustle with men that are armed. And so they just had to force their way. In fact, they were the same people that went in there, into our bedrooms, everywhere, yes, to get our things out of the house. I mean, nobody lifted a finger because we didn't know where we are going to. We don't know where we are going to. We don't know where to go from here, what to do. It's a surprise that you wake up and then in just a twinkle of an eye, you are dispossessed. At least we checked from the one who was selling the land to us, and he had copies of court judgment, yes, giving ownership of the parcel of land to the family that had won that case as at then. I think that was 2008 or whatever when that judgment was given.
Her distress call on Joy FM Super Morning Show led to a Good Samaritan offering temporary accommodation for her family.
So this is one opportunity I would love to seize to say a big thank you to Joy FM. Because when you came to our rescue this morning to inquire what was happening here, there was a question that the presenter put to me. Where are we going from here? What would we want if somebody is in a position to help? And I remember saying that a place to keep our things and possibly to lodge momentarily until we figure things out. And thank you, Joy FM. A Good Samaritan came through for us. And just when we had ended that call, somebody called and offered a place so that we can quickly just put our stuff in there as we figure out the next course of action.
But not all residents have been as fortunate. King Lumo's 5-bedroom house has also been locked up. His belongings have been removed and the building earmarked for demolition. Tonight, he says he has nowhere to stay.
Do I even know where I'm sleeping today? I can't pack my things to the village today, so I'll see what I can do. No prior notice. Honestly speaking, no prior notice. If we had something like that, as the first person to settle us as their leader, I would have called them together. So we take a lawyer to trace the source of whatever road is on the wall. But there was nothing like that. I came out early morning, 5 o'clock, saw a lot of 1,000 police, about 500 policemen going around and all that. Oh, I started to ask questions. What are they after? They say they're evicting people from here. How? Any prior notice? No. It's involved. You don't just come straight and then trying to evict people, especially at this rainy season. What do you want them to do? So as a leader, please stop what you are doing. They refused. They refused. They were fully armed. And surprisingly, the police station over here, they were not notified.
Shocking there, but let's take you back to our earlier story regarding Accra floods and fire disasters. We have now the Director of Fire and Lighting Department at NADMO, Bill Godson Oklu. He joins us on the telephone with latest details on last night's flood and fire disaster. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. You've been responding to incidents across the capital since last night. What really is the latest?
Okay, thank you very much for giving the opportunity. We in NADMO, we've been monitoring the fire incident, the report that we received across part of Greater Accra since yesterday, including the fire incident at Makola. Our assessment team are working closely with the Ghana National Fire Service and other stakeholders to ascertain the full extent of damage and the needs of affected persons. The good news is that no fatalities have been reported in the major incidents brought to our attention so far.
And what emergency assistance and relief has NADMO provided, especially to affected victims?
Well, our immediate focus is coordination, assessment, and support. NADMO team have been deployed to affected locations to conduct a rapid assessment and determine the appropriate assistance required. We are also collaborating with Ghana National Fire Service, local authorities, and security agencies to ensure affected persons receive necessary support.
And so far, based on the feedback you're receiving, how widespread is this affected community, especially in the Greater Accra region?
Can you repeat that again?
I'm saying that based on the report you're receiving of different flooding, especially in the capital, how widespread is it in the capital, especially affected communities? How widespread is it?
I'm trying to get your question.
You say that currently, I asked you a question about relief being provided to victims, especially individuals who have experienced flooding. Last time we reported that here on the Joy News channel. And you say that you're currently assessing the extent of damage to ascertain the kind of relief you'll be providing to them. Am I right?
Yes, please.
Great. And I'm saying that based on the initial report you're receiving, how widespread is it? How many communities or areas are affected?
In terms of flood or in terms of fire incidents?
In terms of flood and fire incidences.
Yeah, so far, well, I'm not responsible for hydromet department, but based on the information currently at my disposal, as of yesterday, Adenta, Madina, Gan East, Gan South, and other communities, especially Adenta, where a storage building collapsed. One person is dead, and other few people have been rescued. So basically, greater part of Accra is experiencing flood and fire incidents as well.
And the Ghana Meteorological Agency, they're warning of more rainfall, especially within the next 24 hours. What measures are you putting in place to minimize at least the risk of further losses of lives and properties?
Well, beyond responding to incidents, our focus is prevention. So we are intensifying public education on fire safety, strengthening coordination with emergency response agencies, and encouraging institutions, markets, and households to comply with a basic fire safety measures, and also ensuring that when it's raining or if you know you are in a flood-prone area, you have to make sure that you get the needed precautionary measures. You have to deseat your gutters. You have to make sure that your gutters are not choked. These are the preventive measures that we have to, put out there, or maybe community will have to engage in community activity to ensure that the areas are not flooded.
And I'm just wondering, are you fully resourced to ensure that you help the victims, especially now that we're told by GMET that we should expect more rains?
Oh, well, as an institution responsible for coordination, NADMO is in constant communication with the other agencies to ensure that we mobilize internally with the other stakeholders to ensure that we meet the demand or the needs of the affected community. But as NADMO is stands, we cannot do that in isolation. We can only do that in close collaboration with the other stakeholders or institutions within the country.
And And then really for residents, what advice do you have for them?
Can you repeat that again?
For residents living in flood-prone areas, what advice do you have for them?
It's very simple. If you are living in a flood-prone area, one, these are not, at this time, we cannot say what they have to do because they've already put up a building on waterway. It's an issue that we need to address holistically. So at this moment, they just have to come together and make sure that they distribute the gases. They don't dump rubbish into the gutters. They have to clean their environment. They have to make sure that the water course is well defined. They have to dredge their community, dredge the gutters so that the water can easily flow. If not, if the gutters are choked, then the water will run into their houses. And when it's raining, you don't have to force yourself to go home. Whatever you are, remain there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bill, for your time here on The Pulse. Well, let's take you now to Parliament because Communications Minister Samuel Nartey George has revealed that the government is working on a new policy that will require presenting ID cards before access to any pornographic website. Speaking at the Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family Sovereignty and Values, the Ningo Pram MP vowed to use every tool at his disposal as Minister of State to protect African values and particularly children.
And I keep saying that, look, we don't need to rewrite the script. Today in the United Kingdom, for you to access a pornographic website, you need to put your driver's license for them to be able to determine that you are 18 years. Ask yourself why they are doing that. Because they've seen the danger and the damage that pornography and over-sexualization have done to a generation of young UK citizens. And that's why for us, we believe that in Ghana here, and we're working with going to cabinet on that, to make sure that before you access any X-rated site, you must put either your driver's license or your national ID card, so that we know who you are and who is going to that site, to prevent children from being exposed to such content. This is the real threat. Because when a child is over-sexualized at an early age, it affects their development, it affects their thinking, it affects even their morality and their values and their standards. And the only way to break a people is to go after the children. Because when the children are destroyed and damaged, that culture, that culturalization gets damaged. The fight against Africa is not against those of us sitting in this room. We were a lost case. The fight is against our children. And that's why when myself and my colleagues in Ghana introduced the Family Values Bill, one of our key arguments has been that we're fighting for the innocence of Ghanaian children, because our children must be protected and safe. We were protected by our parents in an African family setting. We must do the same for our children and grandchildren.
Well, he also says he would be unrelenting in pushing the president to sign the anti-LGBTQ bill.
A law, Nigeria has a law, Malawi has a law. Just pick that law and also replicate same. Because we have the Malabo Convention. We are more alike than we think we are. Who is enforcing all of this? African parliaments, and that's the heading I put there. I said African parliaments have ceded our legislative chambers to Silicon Valley. Let us reclaim our position as legislators. We make the laws. We determine what our people must do. Let us not cede our power to Silicon Valley. What can we do? Ghana has already, I'm using Ghana because I serve as Minister for Ghana in that capacity when it comes to digital technology. In 2012, we passed the Data Protection Act. As far back as 2012. And as we speak now, we're reviewing that law. In 2020, we passed the Cybersecurity Act. As we speak, we're reviewing it again. Because in 2012, when we passed our data protection law, there was nothing like artificial intelligence or artificial general intelligence. So we're bringing it up to speed to meet the realities of today. In 2023, we passed an online safety policy to protect our children. In 2024, we passed the Family Values Bill. It wasn't accented to. We brought it back again. We passed it last Friday. And we'll keep pushing until the president accents to it. And just in April this year, we did it in 2025, but we launched the national AI policy in 2026. And what we've done with our AI policy.
And still on the conference, Food and Agriculture Minister Eric Opoku is lamenting the low investment in the agriculture sector by African governments, leading to the sector's stunted growth. Speaking at the Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family Sovereignty and Values, Eric Opoku warned that without sustained investment, agriculture cannot play the pivotal role it is expected to play in growing the economy. He wants government to commit at least 10% of the country's annual budget to agriculture.
Through the Maputo Declaration of 2003, I reaffirmed them under the Kampala Declaration. Under these frameworks, our government pledged to allocate at least 10% of their national budgets to agriculture and rural development as a means of unlocking the continent's vast agricultural potential and accelerating economic transformation. However, the reality on the ground tells a different story. Evidence across the continent suggests that many countries are yet to fulfill this commitment. In some countries, agriculture receives less than 1% of the national budget. Others allocate only 2 or 3%, while some provide as little as 0.6%. Such levels of investment are grossly inadequate for a sector that employs the majority of Africa's workforce, feeds our population, and holds the key to industrialization, poverty reduction, and economic growth. This is where African parliaments must rise to the occasion. Parliaments have a constitutional responsibility to exercise oversight over public expenditure and government policy implementation. They must hold the executive accountable and ensure that the promises made to African citizens are translated into concrete budgetary commitments and measurable outcomes. Parliamentarians must demand answers when agricultural allocations fall below agreed continental targets. They must scrutinize budgets, monitor implementation, and insist that agriculture receives the attention and resources necessary to drive national development.
Still in Parliament, but this time the European Parliament, they have approved measures that allow rejected asylum seekers to be sent from the European Union to so-called return hubs in countries outside the EU. Well, despite parliamentary approval, the idea remains highly controversial within the bloc. For more on this, join me now all the way from our partner station, DW in Berlin, is Hans Brandt. We appreciate your time here on the polls. Hans, what really does this new idea involve?
What we're talking about here is the so-called Common European Asylum System, which has been in negotiation for several years. It aims to coordinate asylum processing across the European Union countries, more than 20 countries after all, so that asylum processes are not only coordinated, but so that asylum applicants cannot simply slip from one country to the other in order to try and find the most, the easiest place to apply for asylum. It's also meant to relieve countries on the borders of the European Union, such as Italy and Spain, where most of the irregular migrants arrive. It involves a gamut of measures, of increasingly harsh measures to force people within the asylum system to cooperate with authorities. It allows further detentions. It allows the taking away benefits of people who are not cooperative and so on. But the most controversial and probably the harshest aspect of it is this plan to set up so-called return hubs in countries outside the European Union. For instance, in North Africa, that's what everybody is hoping for, in countries such as Egypt or Tunisia. People who have gone through the asylum process, who have not been accepted as people who can stay in the European Union, but who can also not be sent back to their countries of origin, are then to be sent to these return hubs in some other country and probably remain there for the time being.
We've been hearing from critics of these measures, and unfortunately they were outvoted. What happened?
Yes, indeed. There were obviously critics on the left of the political spectrum, in social democratic parties, in green parties, human rights groups. They are warning that these measures could lead to a situation such as in the United States, where immigration authorities could simply raid homes or pick up people on the streets, that the rights of minors, of unaccompanied minors, of children, of families could be damaged by this. What actually happened is there was a very unusual coalition in the European Parliament between what you might call regular conservative parties, such as the Christian Democrats here in Germany, with far right-wing and extremist parties that are also represented in the European Parliament. That broke a taboo. It's not actually done, as it were, for these conservative parties to cooperate with the far right-wing parties. In this case, they did, and together they were able to construct a majority to, in fact, implement these return hubs. And that's something that the far right-wing parties, such as the Alternative for Germany here in Germany, now see as their victory. They claim it as something that they achieved.
Thank you so much, Hans. And that's how we wrap up the Pulse right here from our studios in Accra. My name is Faustina Safa. I appreciate your time and your company. For more news, please log on to myjournal.com. Good afternoon.